Hi.
Hi.
Welcome to another podcast episode of Behave Yourself.
Oh, that was good.
Yeah, I've been practicing in the mirror.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. You're Becky.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Hey, I'm Becky.
Uh-huh.
And that's Brian.
All right.
And today we're going to be talking about a juicy, juicy topic.
What are we talking about?
We're going to be talking about sex education. I never got the sex talk.
I didn't either.
It was just figure it out.
Yeah, we have the internet now.
Yeah.
They'll find it.
Back in the day, I didn't have the internet.
No, that's true. I didn't either.
If we did, it was dial-up, and, then it would take a long time.
Whatever. Penguins don't have the sex talk, but they still have sex.
They figure it out.
Yeah, they figure it out.
But I think there's a problem in that.
With the penguins or with us?
No, with not providing the sex talk with people that need to have the sex talk.
Oh, okay.
And do penguins get STIs? They formerly known as STDs.
I don't know the answer to that question.
Somebody Google it. And provide us that.
Seems like something they might get, but I don't know.
Now I'm really curious.
Yeah.
Do penguins get STIs?
I feel like you were saying no, but I don't know. Maybe. I'll ask my penguin when I get home.
Somebody research that.
I feel like our field is very scared of this topic.
I would say. I think society in general is afraid of this topic.
Yeah.
But why?
Why? I don't know. But
people are doing it. They are.
They're doing it right now.
I bet they are. There are people right now at whatever time it is.
I think I see your neighbors over there doing it.
They probably are.
Bob?
No, that's not their names. Bob, I see you. Close those blinds,
Put
Bob.
your pants on, Bob. So we're going to look at this first from an everyday societal aspect, and then we're going to tie it into how difficult that is to then teach to children with autism and their families. At least that's what I'm going to do. You didn't agree to that, but
That sounds, I agree.
Yay.
That sounds like a great plan.
So our society is ultra contradictory about sex.
Yeah. It's all over TV.
It's everywhere.
And commercials and advertisements.
Right. We think it's the best thing that ever existed.
Right.
But we also think you should die if you have sex.
You're going straight to hell.
Okay, maybe not that drastic, but we do have this thing where it's like anyone who has any sexual contact or actions that we deem outside of what's acceptable, we vilify them. So on one hand, we have this thing where it's everywhere. You look up music and any entertainment, TV, movies, whatever, and it's everywhere. I mean, they're sexualizing all the people, regardless of age, sometimes way too young, and the reason is because it sells.
Sex sells.
Yeah, even in advertisements, you see that, and this is something that's been studied and verified to work for a lot of years.
Can I ask a question though?
Yeah.
Do you think sexy men sell or sexy women sell?
I think both now. Definitely the sexy women. That's obvious. But there is a lot of advertisements with sexy men in underwear and all over TV and movies. I don't necessarily think it's equal at this point in terms of how much it is, but
I would agree.
Catching up. The men are everywhere now.
What?
Yeah.
They're everywhere?
They're everywhere.
With their nipples hanging out?
Yeah, with their shirts off and,
their nips out.
And everybody's a big bodybuilder in these advertisements.
Yeah,
so it's bad for men too.
They spend a lot of time in the gym.
You're saying I don't spend a lot of time in the gym?
I don't. Do you?
I'm a bodybuilder.
I can definitely not tell.
This is my secondary career.
It's hiding under your shirt.
Anyway, regardless of the male-female issue, it doesn't matter. The point is that sex is everywhere. We view it like it's the holy grail, the best thing. But then we have a million rules about when you're allowed to have it, who you're allowed to have it with. And these rules change all the time. In the last 10 years, 20 years, they're getting more and more confusing and strict. And society as a whole doesn't have a great handle on what is and what isn't acceptable. I mean, obviously, you know, that if it's extreme, right? You have sex with your husband or wife, that's acceptable. You have forcible sex with someone who's not consenting, that's not okay. Those are very obvious examples.
Right.
But there's a lot of middle ground that's very confusing. Things that might have been acceptable 20 years ago are not now. So society as a whole has trouble with this. Then you add into it that we're trying to teach this to individuals with autism who may already have difficulty with social skills. And it's become a complete disaster. So here's the most common intervention I see. Let's see if you can guess it. There's a child at school, and in the middle of class, he pops a boner. What's the intervention?
Go to the bathroom.
Exactly. Go to the bathroom. Did they teach that in sex ed? That every time you have a boner, you go to the bathroom?
No, that was definitely not in the lesson I participated in.
Okay,
Abstinence is key there. Don't touch yourself.
So how is this kid going to learn what to do in that scenario if every time we just tell him to go to the bathroom?
Well, no. So many things wrong. You've taught them to like use the toilet in the bathroom.
Yeah.
But then in schools, you're telling them you have a boner, now go to the bathroom and handle it.
Right.
First of all, they don't even know necessarily what to do. Not that it's a teacher's job to teach them how to masturbate at all. But then we're also teaching them that it's okay in a public place to go touch yourself in a bathroom. But the last time I checked, men get arrested for that.
They do. Yeah.
So that's kind of you can't just be like, whoop, I got a boner at a Target. Let me head on into the bathroom and beat one off. That's not going to happen. That's not okay.
Yeah.
That's not okay.
Can't be beating off in Target. You're right.
No.
But the thing is, that's the most common thing because nobody knows what to do,
Well,
and nobody teaches them what to do.
And if you just like, it's out of sight, out of mind.
Right.
Your boner is now in the bathroom. I don't have to think about it.
I'm sure the idea was that, well, this is a private area. This is the only private area that exists.
We should assume positive intent. Yes.
Oh, I don't assume positive intent. I just assume
I'm working on it.
That's the logic. But it's such flawed logic because even if it is, they still don't know what to do.
Right.
And they're going to a place, like you said, where they've been taught to do something else, which is not going to fix their current problem.
Yes.
Right? I mean, every time I poop, it does not fix an erection.
No kidding. I can't imagine that.
Yeah. So I guess, to be fair, I guess now that I think about it, I guess I've not really tried that intervention, but I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure that pooping won't fix it.
You can report back to us
All right,
as
we'll
to whether or not it works.
Someone out there find some research articles on that intervention.
Oh, that'd be hysterical.
But it's absurd. So, you know, we're telling them this is basically you can't have these feelings, and when you do, you have to just basically get out and then have these feelings somewhere else.
I think even not just people with disabilities, they say that to just everyone. It's okay that you have these feelings. I don't even know if they say it's okay that you have these feelings in society.
They say it's not.
You shove those feelings way deep down inside and don't talk about it to anyone.
Exactly.
It must be a private conversation in a monogamous relationship, and they would prefer it be between a man and a woman.
Okay, we're not going to get into that today. You got to settle down. We live in a society in which we are taught and forced to control and repress all of our inner nature constantly. And I'm not saying whether that's okay or not okay. That's not what this is about. This is about how it affects the clientele we work with. But if you go somewhere, right? You go to the gym. Mm-hmm. You go to a pool, a public pool, or the beach, and you see women, but also men too now. People are having sexual thoughts every second, right? You're looking at someone in a bikini, you're looking at someone lifting weights, and you're thinking all these thoughts that you would never tell anyone and you are not allowed to act on. Mm-hmm. So we have learned, the overwhelming majority of us have learned to have those thoughts, but control them, not say anything, not stare at people. It's a fleeting thought. We say, "Oh, look at those breasts," and then we move on with our day.
I have those thoughts, yes.
And then we move on with our day. Mm-hmm. But no one is teaching our clientele how to do that.
Right.
So for people, especially you're talking about level 3 autism and a lot of level 2, and it even affects some level 1 individuals. But obviously, it's a lot more difficult to teach level 3 autism, where they're already having a hard time coping with and understanding the regulations and expectations that society places on them. Even simple things like sitting in your chair during a meeting or during school, or mm-hmm. not clapping your hands while the teacher is talking. Mm-hmm. So now we're trying to tell them, also, all these sexual feelings you have,
thanks for having them, but don't.
Just pretend you're not having them. Mm-hmm. And we expect them to learn from this. I mean,
it's innate nature. It's just a part of being a human. And so it makes it difficult because it's just like eating and breathing.
Exactly.
And so they're like, what do you mean?
And we have been conditioned and actively taught since our basically childhood and
since our conception.
Yeah, since our conception that we have to control and repress all these things that nature is telling us to do. Mm-hmm. And most of us learn to do that, and we go about our business without any issue. But we now have a large population of people who don't learn that as easily and through typically standard interventions and methods. So the question is, how do we teach it to them? And I'm not sure I know the answer, but I had a client once about 5 years ago. I don't remember his exact age, but maybe he was 13 or 14. Mm-hmm. And he was getting in trouble at school and getting suspended for feeling women up inappropriately. Or not just women, the teachers, but also students, so young girls. Obviously, that's over the line. You can't have that in the classroom. So
in public.
Yeah, you can't have that. That's obvious. So I'm not saying they should let him stay in the classroom. I'm saying there has to be some alternative or something to teach him. So this was a little bit out of my scope. I was not, and I'm still not, an expert in this area. So I did some research to find some people who were able to teach sex education to children with autism or adolescents with autism. And the closest person I found was 8 hours away.
Wow.
Yeah. And he was very nice. I talked to him. He was a professor at one of the universities, and he had a lot of experience. But in order to get him to work on this, we would have had to pay for him to fly in, pay for room and board, and wow. Yeah, and then on top of his hourly fee, it wasn't feasible. We couldn't do it. It was going to be thousands of dollars, right. And the family wasn't going to do it because they didn't have that type of money.
Was he willing to teach you? Like to mentor you?
I don't recall. He was willing to work with us and work with the family. I don't remember the extent of how much we discussed that, but I basically got some preliminary information, and then I took it back to the family and said, this is what I found. Here's the closest guy. Here's what it would be. And we weren't able to go any further because that's too much to ask. And even then, I mean, so what? We pay him to come for a few days, and then
Then what?
Yeah, you're not gonna be able to teach someone all these types of behaviors and habits in 3 days. So this would have to be a long-term ongoing thing. So it wasn't feasible. But the idea that we live in Dallas, which is a giant metroplex, fourth biggest in the country, and the closest person that we could get was 8 hours away.
Wow.
That's absolutely atrocious. So what it means is that these kids are not being taught. Mm-mm. And I've talked to some parents about it, and some of them don't want their children to learn these things. And there's a lot of reasons for that. But one of them is that they're afraid that if they learn how to take care of the problem, then their kid's just going to be masturbating all over town. You know? It's like, well, now you showed him this, and he's going to say, oh, this is the greatest thing ever, and he's just going to be doing it everywhere. So, I can't contradict that. I can't say, no, that won't happen. And
in all the conversations I've had with parents, it hasn't happened. So fingers crossed.
I hope it doesn't happen, because then you're talking about people getting arrested. So a lot of these parents are weighing the options, and they're saying, I would rather just my kid never learn how to masturbate than start doing it in public and get arrested. And I can't really argue against that. I mean, I get that. But there has to be something in the middle to teach where...
I also think they're gonna figure it out. Even if you don't have a conversation with them, they'll figure it out.
Yeah, usually.
It's not like your dad sat you down and he was like, listen,
yeah,
this is how to get it done.
Right. Up and down.
Yeah.
And
No,
that's not what happened.
No. So I think even if we sweep it under a rug, it's still going to happen.
It's still there.
And like I said before, I personally would rather have a conversation with my child so that they're not provided misinformation. And at least I can teach them the way that I know them best for them to understand. I think because it's such a taboo topic, societally and culturally for some people, it is something they don't talk about at all. And it pushes them to their limit to understand whether we have this conversation or not, it's coming. And so we,
oh, great.
Hilarious. I try to push parents or guide them into understanding that it's a conversation that needs to be had, and I can provide you tools with how to have that conversation, because it's better if it comes from you. But I can be here to support you so that you don't feel like you're drowning.
And what do they usually say? They're receptive to it?
They're more receptive to it, knowing that there's somebody there to support them in having that conversation. I will provide visuals if necessary. And
what type of visuals?
Like
Pornhub.com?
Oh, of course. Yes, absolutely. Here's a login. For our kids that require the visuals in order to understand where it's appropriate and where it's not appropriate. So we teach them. Usually I teach the kids, go to your room. Like this is a safe place.
Right.
This is a safe place.
You don't poop in your room.
You don't poop in your room.
But you sleep there.
You do. You do indeed.
But you're talking about kids that have the cognitive ability to understand.
Not necessarily.
Okay.
So even our level 3s, I will teach them that this is an okay place to be naked and an okay place to touch yourself.
Got it.
Out here in the living room, you need to have your pants on.
Okay.
So to teach them to discriminate between those areas.
Simple yet effective.
So, my gosh. So that is just an example of something I've done before. I've provided parents with scripts of what to say to like level 1 and level 2 learners.
And did you create these scripts or you found them?
I just told them what to say. I didn't find them. I haven't been successful in finding a curriculum that works for a large population of children. It's really kind of, you pick and choose between pieces of it to make it work for your client. But like, I had a conversation with a parent where I was like, listen, you either need to tell him what's appropriate to look at when he wants to masturbate, or he's going to find whatever and it's not going to be safe for him to look at on the internet. So you got to be very specific of, here are the sites you can go to and it's okay. These sites you cannot go to.
Yeah.
And he was like, oh. And I was like, yeah, it's going to be real uncomfortable. But you can do it. And he did, like, as a parent, I wouldn't think of it in that way of, I need to be explicit about this is what's okay to look at versus this is not okay to look at.
It's tough because parents are also conditioned their whole lives to think this is not something you talk about.
Right. Playboys were hidden under beds.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. So there's a lot of factors here, but when you consider all of our biological needs, we have eating, drinking, sleeping, right? Bathing. And someone guides you through all of those. I mean, sleep, you just fall asleep naturally, but still, you know, your parents, they put you in the crib, then they put you in the bed. But when it comes to sex, we're all on our own.
Yeah, they're like, bye, good luck.
It's like, don't bring that around here.
We're not talking about that.
And we work with a lot of individuals who aren't able to figure out what to do on their own, not just with masturbating, but how to also control themselves. You know, it's not like every time you get a boner, you just go masturbate, right? Sometimes we need to know, okay, I'm having these thoughts, but I'm in an inappropriate place. I'm on the subway or I'm in an airplane. You have to distract yourself and redirect your thoughts to something else. That's incredibly difficult for our individuals to do. And no one's teaching them how to do it. And they're not going to figure it out on their own.
No.
You know, no one's teaching them, hey, just think about baseball or something, right?
Think about your grandma.
Come on, Becky.
We'll turn it off real quick.
It's such a taboo subject that not only are the parents and school staff afraid, but as a field, we're afraid too, because this is an area where you make one wrong mistake and you're screwed for life.
Yeah.
Right. You cannot make a mistake where someone gets a charge of sexual harassment or inappropriate exposure or something like that. Right. We can't have that. So instead, we just don't teach it. And that's doing a disservice to our clients, but we also live in a society where the consequences for these things are so great that when we weigh the risks and benefits, we say, fuck that. I'm not risking my whole career for this. So there's a lot of different avenues here, and it's not going to get fixed anytime soon because there are too many things to fix. But we could complain about it.
I can complain until the cows come home. I think a major issue is people say, that's outside of my competency.
Right.
You're like, I've never taught sex ed before, so no thanks. But there are a lot of things that we haven't taught before that we have to learn and take classes. There are quite a few, maybe not quite a few, maybe a few CEUs on sex education.
There are. I have done some.
And so that's a place people can start reading research, looking at the Google.
Maybe we'll link them under this episode.
Yeah, that would be great. I found some great links that we can provide the people. But even if you feel like it's outside of your competence, we can't move forward for anything unless we learn. So get to learning.
It's not that I mean, that's one way of looking at it. But really, there's lots of things that are out of our area of competency where we then learn it so that we are capable to do it in the future.
Right.
But no one wants to learn this one. They want to just push it off and say, individuals with autism, sex, separate. They don't go together.
Right.
which is ridiculous because individuals with autism have biological needs just like everybody else.
Yeah.
And to say that
good luck, you're on your own.
Yeah, and then expect them to be able to control their behavior better it's illogical. If you don't target one of the most basic needs in our lives.
Yeah.
Unlike some of the other topics we've discussed, this one has an obvious answer that we need to stop being scared of it and we need to start teaching it. And there should be more CEUs on it. Maybe at some point required CEUs, the way we have ethics and supervision. I mean, our society it's very important to be able to control your thoughts and feelings about sex in whatever manner you have them, whether that's knowing what to do with it and when to do it, knowing how to distract yourself, knowing what's right and wrong. This is a topic that could ruin your life in one wrong move. And
pretending like it doesn't exist isn't going to make it go away.
It does not make it go away. So we have to stop being scared. We have to, as a field, we need more resources for this. Is there anything else besides telling our field to start actually looking into something that's one of the most major issues in the world?
I don't think so. I think people just need to also recognize that we do have a code of ethics part that says that we must be aware of our own biases. And if you feel uncomfortable talking about sex because of how you've been raised or what you believe, you need to check yourself. Because if a client requires this conversation, then in order to be a successful individual in society, then we need to be able to do that. Even if it feels super uncomfy.
Yeah, you just gave it to him straight.
I naturally do. No BS over here. So that is our episode today. I'm ready.
You ready for it?
I'm so ready.
Okay. And remember, behave yourself.
Dun, dun,
We're getting good at that. We're getting really good at that.
I'm so proud.